up, flip it open, pick it up, flip it open.
A byproduct of the LAUSD education, miseducated while my peers graduated. I was waiting on my arraignment. In the day room, I'm shifting through torn books in the room. Ironically, in better condition than at my school now. I couldn't quite finish a whole book, and until I discovered my notebook, I found that I wasn't accustomed to processing nothing I read in a school book. Then I started building, dialoguing where all my elders, sharing shit that these authors would piece together with letters. And now as an adult, I see the error in my schooling, and why the shit in syllabus readings made me feel stupid. Cause the relevance to me was irrelevant in my teens. The fuck did half the shit have to do with me being me, huh?
Environmental science is just pretty much just documenting common sense outside. It's raining. I'm going to document that. The water's flowing. I'm going to measure the speed of it. That is a squirrel gathering nuts for winter. Yes, there's several types of squirrels, but I'm going to call it biodiversity. So, I don't know. It gets complicated. They go into different languages and mathematics, which gets me to that same old point where the language does keep things exclusive, and it keeps them in their good old boy circle. Because environmentalism started with, a bunch of white men who said the environment needs to be protected. Let's make a club together. But the whole premise was that this environment needed to be protected for them and their own, not exactly everyone else, especially not natives, especially not the enslaved Africans, especially not people coming from across the border in the South, definitely not Chinese. It's the whole premise was not to protect the environment for the good of it. It was for resource use and management. And that's just getting timber to make houses or having fresh water to drink and food to eat. It wasn't so much let's keep the land clean just because this is our planet, it's the only planet we have. It's like, no, we're gonna need that, so let's keep it clean because we gotta eat it and use it. But then that kind of dominant ideology kind of just carried on to today. So now it's like, in science, when you see something like a cow, it's product, it's an object, it's an item, it's not a living being, it's not its own entity. And it's, in a sense, kind of sick to sit in class like rangeland and be like, a cow and its calf is, a certain unit that is used in a mathematical equation to determine how many cows you can have on a land. Like, it's kind of weird. And then it brings me back to like the old days where, if you want this person, or let's go back, if you want this enslaved black person, they also come with their kids. They are a unit. And you can have so many on your plantation. And it's disturbing because I connect the two with my own personal history and with today what's going on. And it's disturbing to have all this going on and at the same time everyone around you sitting like, yeah, that unit over there. Or, this acre of trees right here. And I'm like, I understand this environmental science, we got to be objective about things, but at the same time, I feel like we disconnect ourselves very easily from, in a sense, I guess this term's called speciesism. When, you have like it's like the self-hate mentality on your own people, but it's only certain species in your group. Like, the red fox hating the brown fox because reasons. But that kind of action is displayed a lot in environmental science class. It's always this them versus us mentality. And I'm like, who's us exactly and who's them exactly? Because at the end of the day, they know who they're talking about.
But to begin with, people need to acknowledge things that had happened here in this continent first. Because you cannot move forward without acknowledging that, I'm going to say it bluntly, the genocide happened here, and a lot of people aren't very in denial. And so I feel, first, that people need to acknowledge and recognize that happened. And give it its place and time, and, kind of dwell on that for a while. And then, and then basically I think that it's going to open up to, why people question certain things. Because, I get it then. I feel that's how we move forward. I would like to see, professors be more welcoming to different opinions. Definitely an indigenous knowledge, more focus on indigenous knowledge and give it its validation. I feel it's very valid that we bring this indigenous knowledge. I mean, I'm talking here about indigenous knowledge, and I maybe know very little of my ancestry, but I know they practice something very, very meaningful and very powerful. Maybe I can get my grandpa to be here and teach me something. So maybe all the elders, and honestly, at the end of the day, embracing our elders and really learning from them. I feel they carry a very strong message. A lot of us young folks, very selfish in the sense that we care about ourselves and what's going on in the world right now, and trendy things and stuff. But we forget that the most important thing is our ancestors and our knowledge, that knowledge. So I can't directly say what I want to be, being taught in classes, but I definitely want people to recognize certain things and be more welcoming, because that's how you start expanding and sharing more knowledge.
I ended up asking her, like, hey, are you going to talk about indigenous knowledge at all, or traditional ecological knowledge, which is like a new growing field in ecology that is being recognized and integrated into science, which is just pretty much, terminology just that means traditional ways of knowing about the way things were, the way things work together in the environment, and how humans also are a part of it. And so that could be defined in different ways. That's not the only definition. I'm just like trying to break it down easy. And so she was like, no, I'm not going to, I don't have information about that, or I'm not going to look for information about that. That's actually what she was really telling me. And so I was just like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense for us to have a whole entire course on conservation biology in the region that we're at, where like there's, a lot of indigenous presence. We're in some of the largest tribes in California, and we're on, and we are ancestral land. And all the circumstances of where we're at, it's really out of context to be in a class like that when you're talking about conservation biology and not talking about traditional ecological knowledge. To me, that was her selling us short of all the thousands of dollars that we're paying to be learning and being in that class and being in this school. And so I had to go out of my way to reach somebody from another institution, another PhD that's studying, he's a Native man, and he's getting his PhD in integrating traditional ecological knowledge into his thesis. And so, it's not like the work's not out there. There's actually a lot of resources out there to learn about that. And so I took it upon myself to find that and then get it to her so that she could incorporate it into the class. And she was like, okay, I'll incorporate like one last lecture to it before the end of the semester.
We have to look at what these words are and redefine them for ourselves, because they have already been defined through colonialism, imperialism, and racism. And then these are the terms that we, they just switch them around because now we're in a new time, and they just keep pushing these same ideas past us, and we don't really know what they mean. They're mixing these words around, and so we have to demystify what these words are, because these are mystical words that are in the air, but they have tangible results. We see what freedom is. Freedom is slavery. So we have to redefine what that is, and that's what I think white people, all people need to try and do. We want this. Is this the freedom we want? And if it is, then, well, they've been defending it for the last 522 years, so we have to redefine it and then defend that version of what we're going to create, because through death comes creation. And so either way, something's going to have to die, and then something's going to be reborn after that. And we've seen what happened with the genocide you allude to. They've tried to kill us, and they fragmented us, but we're not dead, so that means we can redefine who we are. And like I said, either way, it's going to be a battle, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a genocide, but there has to be a divide within the city, or between the civil society, because this civil society that we live in now is the creation of a genocidal people that came here to dominate the planet. Simple as that. Go look at history. Australia, the whole Western Hemisphere, India, Africa, Russia, China, and you name it. It's everywhere. Now we're gonna go mess up some other species in space. I feel bad. I wish we can send a probe and tell them, no, don't let us kill us right when we get there. That's not all of us. That's not true representation, because Seriously, it's terrible. This is what's driving our society, and so we need to redefine that. Either just be blatant about it. Yes, I support the genocide, I support everything they did, and F you, deal with it, because we're already dealing with it. Or you say, no, I denounce that, I want to create a new society because it's out of love. A society out of love, not of fear. We live a society of fear. You don't go to work because you love work. You go because you know out of fear, you're gonna starve, and you're gonna lose your house, cops can come knock on your door and kick you out. That is what motivates us, is fear in the society, not love. And if it's out of love, it's because you make yourself do that, which is great. That's the whole point of it. You can do that, but that's not reality. That's not what's forcing us to do this. So that's just my little 2 cents.
I mean, of course, recognizing, bringing light to what people like to shun into the dark as not important or irrelevant. And then on top of that, just like a small experience of mine, like me in class, we had this whole talk about, going into nature, going to the woods, and just getting a sense of like renewal. And I'm thinking the first thing in my mind is, well, going into the woods meant the KKK was lynching you or burning you, but this feeling that I had, this fear of the woods that I had based on what my ancestors went through and what was told what happened to my great-grandfather, in a sense, kind of kept me from going, into these spaces. But like I said, like bringing into that light, I think for me was a more personal challenge to overcome that genetic trauma, in a sense, to be outside of these spaces. This is my major. This is what I want to do. But I know I'm not the only one suffering from this, obviously. So I guess my part of knowledge is that I want to teach someday, and I want to do the sciences, but I also want to help, and I want to assist with this like process of healing, so that we can get more African Americans into the outdoors. We can get more African Americans into this environmentalism movement. And I mean, of course, it takes a community, so I mean, like, everybody. And it's not even just a whole place, like, let's just go out there and, like, hike. It's like, no, let's go out there and let's plant a tree. Let's fix the damages, Let's, in a sense, reconnect with our roots. And I think that's my overall goal with this major. I want to reconnect, and I want to start home. But, of course, if I can branch through any community, like these beautiful people I'm sitting next to, that would be like, I can die happy.
One rifle per family. I do believe each family has the right and responsibility to defend themselves from tyrannical, corrupt police, politicians and lobbyists trying to manipulate laws to protect their money while they criminalize you for feeding your family. And when I say family, I don't necessarily mean mom and dad, I mean your community, your neighborhood. And that rifle is symbolic of that defense, but I really do mean a rifle. And I'll probably get in trouble for this shit, but that's funny, cause studio gangsters rap about killing their own people and they get plaques. I get Homeland Security letters and shit. But fuck y'all, man, stop closing schools down and maybe I'll put the rifle away. But until then, educate, organize, mobilize. One rifle per family. Rah.